You've heard the war stories of the first in. How about the story of the last out? That's the message behind A Hero's Journey production. And to tell us more about how warriors can use the power of story to help heal the wounds of war is retired Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann. Welcome to the show, Scott. How are you?
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks for having me.
Well, first, a big thank you for your service and everything that you've done for this country. And also a thank you to continue to give back and help those getting back to civilian life. How did this all start? And of course, that powerful intro there is all about some of the work that you're doing in the community.
Oh, thank you. I spent about 23 years in the Army, 18 of that as a Green Beret, and I retired about 5 years ago. And when I came out of the military, transition for me was pretty tough. I mean, the first couple of years, it went to some pretty dark places. And it was really through learning how to tell my story and share my story on the stage that I really found, a sense of healing, and my family did. And so my wife and I founded a nonprofit called The Hero's Journey, where we help other warriors find their voice and tell their story. And that kind of led to the play.
What do you think it is about sharing your story on a play, perhaps, and putting things into words for other people to witness that you think is so healing?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm a storyteller now professionally. That's what I do, right? And so what I've learned is that we're all story creatures. We operate, we listen, we communicate, we connect through story, and we have for 100,000 years. And story heals the brain, it heals the heart, it brings people together, it bridges trust gaps, and so it just makes sense that using story to heal the wounds of war as we come home is one of the most natural and powerful things we can do. But yet we don't teach our veterans and their families how to do that when they come home, and it's really important. And
that's where I think we bring up the last out, which is what we're talking about today in the production. Talk about everyone involved, because you talk about how many veterans this is. Are these the exact stories of the veterans, or how did you compile everything to make this possibility to people?
So every story in that play is based on a true story, even the little bitty moments. There's things in the story about a silly band that the character Danny wears, and this was a silly band that my son Braden gave me before my second tour to Afghanistan, because he said it would keep me safe and it was magic and it would bring me home. That's actually how the play started. Was a little one-person show I did in acting class for learning how to be a speaker, and the coach who heard it, he said, that's a play. So that was 2 years ago. And so just taking the different stories from combat and war, not just in war, but our families, our children, our spouses, and crushing it all into one raw, visceral story has been a 2-year journey, and now a cast of actors and family members are bringing it to the stage.
And I think civilians can even learn about it. Of course, we talk about the healing components, but civilians maybe learn some stories and some nuances that we can't imagine. As much as we try, and as many things as we see in Hollywood or read about, there's still something about hearing an actual story of someone standing in front of you that I think could help change the perspective of a civilian.
Well, look, we've been in this war for 18 years. My son Cody was 3 when the towers fell. He'll be an infantry lieutenant probably in about a year, right? So it gives you an idea. This is almost 4 times longer than World War II. And men and women and their families have been fighting this war over and over and over again. So I think helping civilians understand the cost of war, regardless of where you come down on it, understanding the cost of war on a very small segment of the population is our first goal of this thing. And then validating the journey of the warriors and the families who've endured this year after year after year is the secondary goal. So yeah, absolutely. And it's a play about redemption, hope, and most of all, letting go. And all of us could probably do a little bit more of that.
I like the whole validating part. I think that is a fabulous way to validate what families have been through, and thank you in advance for your son as well. I mean, it seems like this is a topic that people want to talk about, but seeing it on the stage definitely gives a different impact.
It does.
So let's share the details, where people can see it, because you've got a great venue behind you, and again, you've mentioned your cast. You've got a lot of great people involved as well.
So for the people of Tampa Bay, this is the world premiere of this play. We're going to take it on tour in 2019, but the world premiere is at the Tampa Waterfront Marriott, 7 p.m. on November 10th. That's a Saturday night, the day before Veterans Day. You can get tickets at lastoutplay.com. And if you really want to have an impact this Veterans Day, all the proceeds go to this nonprofit. It's definitely the place to be.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I hope you come back. We can talk more about your nonprofit and, of course, talk more about the play as well. And like you just said, that's a great way to give back, show your support for veterans with Veterans Day around the corner. Thank you again for coming on. And